Guys, this video is about Ryzen in general and certain Ryzen SKUs. Um, so this chip that I have in here right now is the Ryzen 1600X. The 1600X runs at a default of, I believe, 3.6 and then turbos up to 3.7. I guess you could call it core performance boost. And then has an XFR frequency of, I believe it's 4.1. Now, overclocking one of these particular chips, like this particular SKU, is a perfect example of what Stilt was trying to say. Me and the Stilt don't always agree on everything, but the guy is brilliant, he knows his stuff, and I have a ton of respect for him, more than I can say from most of the people that profess to be professionals on the topic of AMD. So, ton of respect for the guy. This chip, I think, is a perfect example of what he's trying to explain on Ryzen. So I figured I'd go over it. Overclocking this chip is basically, it's the equivalent of winning the Hughes Lee Award. It's literally, it's dumb. You probably shouldn't even overclock it. Undervolt it? Sure. If you need multi-threaded specifically, that's your thing, then sure, undervolt the chip and overclock it a little bit. This particular chip has 1.38 VID. I am running at 1.30 measured at the socket. Now, I wanted to go over another thing with the socket. People like say that, oh well, there's spikes and everything. I'm aware of this. I do understand that there are spikes that I can't see with my meter. But this is the whole purpose of me running 1.40 fixed at the max. Because there are spikes, my voltage can go up to 1.45, but I'm okay with 1.45 as a spike. I'm not okay with running 1.45 24/7 because then I can have a much higher spike. So that's why I'm always testing socket voltage. That's why I'm always running at a fixed 1.40 or less with higher LLC settings. That's just the way I prefer to run my systems. So, this chip, I've been ripping prime. It's running at 64C right now. I have the fans on auto. I'm actually been reading temps on this particular board. It goes up to about 64 peak I've seen on the board. I do not suggest for overclocking with the Ryzen 6 core on a little B350 board any more than 1.3 volts at the socket. You're just asking too much. This thing's been ripping prime. It's, I don't know, it's like an hour, a little bit more than an hour. Actually, yeah, it's like almost 2 hours at this point. It's probably gonna pass. I ran this chip in Cinebench at 39.25 and I dropped it down 100 and change, and I found this consistent across the board no matter what chip I test. If I can run 100 megahertz and change higher on Cinebench, drop it down and it'll run prime. I really like this board, by the way. Like with the new BIOS, the thing is ripping. I love it. It's not ripping with all my memory, but it's ripping with one set of memory, so I really like it now. It's become more fun to use. I don't have random core drops, which I was having with previous memory running like this. So, I mean, we're at 1.3 volts. We're running at a 3792 overclock, which is like 3.8, you round it out. And I wanted to show you something, so we're going to stop this, let it relax for a minute. Close that out. Get rid of it. Oh, shut Skype off. Shut hardwire monitor off. Kill this. kill this, kill all my CPU-Zs. Just gonna run some Cinebench real quick. I have no BIOS set in the BIOS or anything right now. Alright, so the score is like 1286. That's with a 3.8 undervolted overclock on the Ryzen 1600X chip. We don't want to save our scores. And then we're going to run Super Pi. And I'm not going to sit here and run a 32 meg, but we're just going to run a quick baseline. Hopefully RTC bugs don't affect me here. Run a quick 1 meg and see what the output is. So we got 10,971. Now I'm going to restart. I'm going to set this to auto. 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 Make sure we have all of our other settings where we need to be. Now, as you can see, we're at 3692. The voltage is much higher, probably. It's bouncing around 1269, 1462. I mean, this is normal for AMD controlling everything. The VID looks like it will go up to 1.55 peak now on this particular chip. At least, I don't know, that's what it's saying. And you've got this one core bouncing around to 4091, actually 2 cores sometimes, depending. So I'll close out hardware monitor again, close out Skype, and run Cinebench again. and now we got a score of 1245. I believe the score previously was 1286. So I mean, we're talking 40 points, 41 points. It's nothing. Really, really nothing. And then you go and run something like this. And it's 11.193. Now, normally, I don't know, it's not kicking in and nailing it on this particular application, but usually it'll just shoot up. If you see it was shooting up on that one, you try running it again. Depends on the application, but many applications, it will shoot right to the one that you are using. There it goes, it shot up now. This is an ancient frickin' bench, so I'm not surprised that it's not working properly. But normally Ryzen will shoot to that core that you're using, and you'll get the turbo boost out of it. Pi is like, I don't know. Jeez, I can't even remember. It's been around since I've been around benching. So, I mean, the advantage is you've got that 4.1, and if you can't get 4.1 24/7, which this chip's not going to do it in this lifetime under realistic voltages, especially on this board, you're just better off leaving the chip alone. I mean, go, if you want to overclock, go buy like a 1600 or 1400 or 1700. There's no need. I can see the 1800X, you know, if you got a chip that can do like 4050, I mean, you're losing almost nothing in the single threaded. But not all the chips do 4050. I think mine does 4025, so I would probably run it 4 gig 24/7 if I can do it under, you know, 1.4 and under. But some of these chips, like this particular model, it just makes no sense. It's like winning the Hughes Lee. You're not gaining anything. If you do gain something, you know, it's not much. On a ref clock board, you might even be able to go to like 103 before the thing knocks out. And you can get that 3.7 out, 3.8 out of it, and keep your turbo core. It makes no sense to lose it on this particular model chip. I have not checked the 1400X yet, as far as how that works out. But I would say that probably on a 1700X, like mine only does like, I believe 3.8 24/7. It makes less sense. But this particular chip, this particular grade of silicon, I would just run it. I mean, I can go up to 3.9 at 1.4 volts, but definitely not on this board. I would just buy it. You know, if you're gonna buy these chips, buy them and run them stock. Some of these X model chips, it's going to benefit you more in the real world than it is to overclock them. Like I said, if you want to get a 1400, get a 1600, overclock those. This chip is pointless, and it's not a bad thing. This is exactly what I said in my review on launch day in the Return of the Jedi review. These X chips are made for people who want to plug their system in and go, and that's it. So, I mean, that's my opinion. That's my thoughts on these chips. And we're gonna play with a few more models and SKUs. I had a bug, I think, so the chips were worse than I thought. This chip actually is 100 megahertz better than I thought. So, going to plug some more chips into this board since the BIOS seems less buggy with it and see what happens. I'll see you guys next time.